Well, let's focus on President Trump's comments on Iran with our opening panel here, at least for this segment. Joining me now, Iman Foroughtun, chairman of the board at the Iran Liberation Congress. We also have I24 News Arabic channel correspondent Sohail Al-Sher. And from New Jersey, we have Ryan Morrow from the Clarion Project joining me as well. Welcome, one and all. Iman, I want to start with you. President Trump calling Iran a bloodlust regime. I mean, that takes the rhetoric from the president to a new level.
And he's only right, and it's absolutely true. The Islamic Republic has been massacring Iranians a few years ago, about a decade ago, about over 30,000 people. Every day they incarcerate people, they maim people, they torture people, they rape the women and all that stuff. So anything that President Trump said, it's about time that some world leader like himself talk about that and bring it out the way we have been saying the opposition for the last 40 years.
And Sohail, I'll bring you in. Trump says, you know, if Iran continues its provocations, the sanctions will continue, they'll get tighter. But France wants to start negotiations, saying it's time. Is it time?
Well, it's very difficult to say because from the French perspective, the French announced several times they are still committed to the deal which was made with Iran. So they are facing a pressure from the Iranians. At the same time, they're facing a pressure from the U.S. and France found itself in the middle of this. Right. Interestingly, just a little while ago, as I was waiting, I got an alert that Rouhani was speaking to Fox News, and he said, if the U.S. wish to have an atmosphere where any talks will be successful, the U.S. must create the atmosphere, the right infrastructure to that, to these talks. Right. And that means lifting the sanctions. But, it's interesting.
But that's dangerous, isn't it? I mean,
it's dangerous because even the Saudi, the Saudi, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Adel Jubeir, earlier said that the purpose of that, from the Iranian perspective, is to just tag along, the world with them, and they will continue doing whatever they're doing, but having the sanctions lifted on from them. So that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, Ryan Morrow, out to you. I mean, Iran clearly wants the sanctions lifted, but its provocations continue, and President Trump doesn't seem to be willing to negotiate, at least not right now.
Right. So right now on the world stage, it's very clear that the Iranian regime is the aggressor. And the fact that the United States did not respond militarily makes it very clear that Iran is the aggressor, that there's no moral equivalency here. Now, what I did find interesting about Trump's comments is that he said sanctions would not be lifted until Iran stopped its menacing behavior, not just nukes, but menacing behavior. So the United States is taking a broader view of what a new deal should look like than some people in Europe who are saying that, well, if there's a renegotiated deal, there should be, it should go over a longer period of time. It should include ballistic missiles. What the U.S. position is that, no, it's got to include all of Iran's behavior. I would say I was personally a little bit disappointed with the speech because I think more attention should be given to the Iranian people. In fact, I think Trump should appoint a special envoy specifically to the Iranian people to make it clear that we do not equate the Iranian people with the Iranian regime.
Yeah, Iman, what about that? I mean, there seems to be some disconnect to what President Trump is saying and wants to do with Iran, to hold firm on the sanctions until it stops its menacing behavior. France is saying, let's sit down and negotiate, and is even talking about a money deal. I mean, there's a big difference there.
Absolutely, and that's because France is very afraid of losing all the trade that it's been doing along with Germany and UK for the last 40 years while the United States has been sitting around. Total, which is the largest oil company in France, had to pull out, and basically they had to choose between Islamic Republic and United States, and they chose that.
So, let's talk about Rouhani. And you mentioned that you got a text about him speaking to Fox News, but he's supposed to speak at the United Nations tomorrow. Exactly. What does he have to say in order to, convince the world leaders that are gathered that it's not the bad guy that's being painted out to be?
We can have a glimpse of what he's going to say because, he spoke earlier today to journalists. So what he said is the following. He said that, again, the efforts of France will not be successful unless the U.S. lifts the sanctions. That's one thing. Another thing he is stressed on, he said, like, you know, the accusations that Iran attacked the oil installations in Saudi Arabia are shameful because the accusers don't want to recognize that, you know, the what he called the Yemeni army possess weapons that can, you know, conduct, you know, such attacks.
But isn't the evidence sort of all pointing to Iran here?
Well, it is, like, according to according to the statements from Jubair, you know, earlier today, he said, according to the investigations, the preliminary investigations, you know, the weapons which was used in the attack, you know, are, you know, Iranian made, and, you know, they are continuing, you know, the Saudis are still continuing their investigations, and they said, like, you know, they're not ruling any options, including the military option.
Sure. So, Ryan Morrow, would it be a mistake for President Trump not to sit down, at least with Rouhani at the UN?
It wouldn't make much of a difference either way. I think I'm a little bit more sympathetic to the argument in favor of meeting, just so that on the world stage it doesn't appear as if Iran just is so desperate to talk and the U.S. is just turning the other way. So being able to say, look, we are negotiating, but they're not serious about it, puts us in a stronger position. I would also say that what Trump should be doing in preparation for Rouhani's speech at the UN, and I wish it had been done today, is really go over the background of Rouhani, because he's going to be acting as if he's a moderate up there, because that's his shtick. It always has been. In fact, he bragged about it when he was running for president of Iran in their so-called elections, that he should be chosen as president because he's really good at lying to the international community and creating a division between the United States and Europe. Remind people of exactly who this guy is.
Right. All right, Ryan Morrow, Iman Foroughan, and Sohail Sharer, thank you so much for being here on Clear Cut.